Hey everybody, High Lord Tamerlane with Obscurities in Miniature. We are bringing you a weekly painting progress video, and it's actually on time for once because it's finally not raining in Southern California on the weekend that I want to try to spray stuff. Thankfully, I was able to find some matte sealer spray this weekend. Seems that's like the holy grail object, and everybody who goes to the same hobby shops that I go to tend to buy 5 or 6 bottles just to make sure they have enough because they never seem to have it in stock. So I stocked up myself. I was one of those guys this week, and I apologize. But we did get things painted. Not these guys. These guys have been sitting here forever. Why don't I start with something that I have not shown off anywhere, I think. So, this is one of the Zealot Minotaurs, and I realize I forgot to finish painting his eyes, but whatever. Anyway, this is the Siegebreaker. This was part of their Twisting Catacombs Kickstarter, and they are available now on Zealot, whichever's website. I will put a link down below, so if you're interested in picking one of these up, you can grab him there. He is a nice, chunky figure. I really like this guy, and I'm quite happy I picked him up, and I did a decent job, I would hope. His colors actually kind of go along with most of my Darklands Minotaurs and Warriors of Baelor and the Fomorians and all that, so that's why he is the way he is, just to give you a sense of scale there. He's not even the largest Minotaur that they made. That would be their big Minotaur Lord, but we'll get to him eventually. And next up, we have another Minotaur from Zealot. I believe he is called the Brute. Look out of the way for a moment. So he is quite spiky, as you can see. Spikes as far as the eyes can see, and he's got his head kind of encased in ramshackle armor, which, if you've listened to any of my videos at this point, you probably know I'm a fan of. But anyway, he seems a little bit smaller than the Siegebreaker. Much more in line with the Minotaurs that Mears has made. Here's my Mears Minotaur, in case you've forgotten. And they're pretty close in size to the actual GW Minotaurs. You can see a sense of scale creep going on. So we finally got those guys done. I do have a couple more Minotaurs that we will be working on over time. And here's another random figure. I went ahead and tried painting up one of the striped Skulkers from my Gibbering Hordes Allegiance box. And, I mean, I just went really simple with it. Underbelly color, body color, eyes I quite like. I'm not sold on my striped patterns. They seem kind of hard to spot from a distance. Let's see if I can get it. There we go. And they're there. He's definitely got his stripes. These guys are supposed to have some sort of adaptive camouflage, and they can kind of shift the colors of their skin. Hence the chameleon-like eyes. I don't know. I'm thinking I might try painting a few of them up in totally different random greens and blues and just let them all run wild together. I didn't bother basing it. I figure the amount that I'm going to have to paint at this point, I just didn't want to bother. And speaking of figures that don't have any kind of basing done for them, we got this random dude. This is the Barbarian guy that came with Massive Darkness. Now, I don't own Massive Darkness, but I do own the Barbarian that comes in the base game. And I thought I did a decent job. You can see he actually does have facial features painted in. Ooh, ah. But he's something about him. He's a very generic, plain, Conan-esque, I don't know, John Buscema illustration inspired looking barbarian. So he's very simple, he does what he's supposed to, and he looks the part quite well. And they do kind of fit in pretty decently with the Warhammer stuff, if you're interested in mixing them in there. He comes from Cool Mini, in case you didn't know. Massive Darkness was their big dungeon crawler board game a year or two back. And speaking of cool minifigures, we've got one of the Mazu's Dreadful Curse figures all painted up. Or at least as painted as I wanted to bother making her. Some spots I thought I did a decent job, and others, like the skin tones, are in need of some work. But you know what? It's good enough for the tabletop. I quite like the flames on her coat, and her big honking swords are kind of cool too. Don't know how she can walk with the flag sticking out of her hair. That's an interesting touch. but it is what it is. Another cool minifigure. This is one of the Rising Sun warrior / Bushi, if you want to get technical, figures from the Dragonfly clan. Nope, not the Dragonfly. From the Turtle clan. So he's got his big club there. I got in an argument with my wife and kids over what to call these clubs. I learned it as Tetsubo, and they said Konobo, and then one of the other kids said something else, and I forget. But anyway, he's got a big hunkin' metal club to bonk people with, as well as his swords there. Not a bad looking figure. Not my favorite of the lot, but he is done. There is that. I found the last one. So here is their Shinto Priest figure. He's got the little monk sitting on top of the big dude there. I don't know, something about this guy just gives me a bit of a Mongol vibe. He's got a very ornamental backpack with his priest buddy sitting on it. Overall, not the most exciting figure. The most exciting figure of that lot, I would say, is the Daimyo for the Turtle Clan, and I quite like him, and I try to follow the painted examples that I found on the actual Kickstarter page for Rising Sun, and I mean, I'm no studio painter by any means, but at least, you know, I think he came out decent enough. He's going to be my go-to samurai figure, I think. And finally, last but not least, we've got this big thing. So this is the Deep Cuts T-Rex. I don't know if they call it a T-Rex, but I mean, yeah, obviously it is a T-Rex. I don't know if the number of claws are the correct amount. I know my kid would complain about that if it wasn't, and I didn't hear him, so I'm going to assume that yes, this is in fact a T-Rex. With that said, I decided that I was going to paint it up in Digimon colors. Why? Why was I going to paint it up in Digimon colors? I have absolutely no idea. It seemed like a good idea at the time, I guess. So yeah, it's supposed to be in Greymon colors. The orange looks a little bit red on the camera. It's a lot more orange in person. He is supposed to have the blue stripes everywhere as well as the brown face. Now, if we want to get technical, the Digimon Greymon figure is supposed to have his horns, but, you know, I'm not gluing horns on a T-Rex. That just isn't right. That just isn't kosher. So, fair amount of stuff painted this week. Fair amount of big stuff. These two in particular, both of the Minotaurs, have sat in front of me for quite some time. The Rising Sun figures here in the foreground. There should be one more. I started them ages ago, but they're done now. I'm very happy about that. This guy started last night. Don't tell anybody that. I thought for a quick one night paint job, pretty decent. Same with her. I was up way too late. I was up to like 3 in the morning. Thankfully, there was no work that next day, so, you know, I can get away with that. Anyways, with that said, you can see the assembled horde of junk. Well, everybody but the T-Rex, I guess. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 figures. Not a bad haul for the week. So, if I could get that done, what's your excuse? This has been High Lord Tamerlane, again with Obscurities and Miniatures, going with a weekly painting progress and saying thanks for watching, and you guys ought to be getting your paintbrushes wet too. Start painting! Bye-bye.